Hello, farmers, and welcome to another episode of the harvest season. My name is Al.
I'm Kevin.
And we are here today to talk about Cottagecore games.
Woo!
Which, I will say, I think, so we're going to talk about Wylde Flowers this episode. I think this might be the most Cottagecore game.
In a while.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. I guess before everything else, just to mention, transcripts for the podcast are available in the show notes and on the website. Just scroll down. You'll see them there. Yeah. So we're going to talk about Wylde Flowers. It has been out for quite a few months now. I think it came out the end of last year. Or maybe it was like the middle of last year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably should have checked that. Wylde Flowers came out in September.
Okay.
So we're going to...
longer than that, but all right.
We're going to talk about that. And before that, we've got a bunch of news. But first of all, Kevin, what have you been up to?
Oh, busy things, work things, furniture things. I'm restoring a table, helping my mom restore a table, repainted. That's something.
Interesting. What kind of table?
Aside, it's just like a dining room table that she found in a place. It's a nice table. She wants a different color. But yeah, so that's going on. That's fun, getting all manual physical for once in my life. Aside from that, in those moments to sit down and breathe, I have been playing Wylde Flowers, Wylde Flowers. We had planned this episode. I had brought it up a while ago, and then our schedule kind of shifted, and it kind of jumped up. And so I said, wow, I really need to play some more Wylde Flowers. So I shotgunned a lot of Wylde Flowers this week, but spoilers, I enjoyed it. Talk about that later. But yeah, aside from that, I can't think of anything meaningful. Ball Guys and Pokemon Masters, it's great.
Oh yeah, I think we mentioned that in the last episode, but we were speculating about what his Pokemon would be. And of course it's Among Us, which...
it is Among Us.
I mean, makes sense, but neither of us suggested it.
Nope.
We were all focused on Voltorb.
Yep. And he sounds great. He sounds like the goofy guy you imagine he would.
Oh, is he out now?
Oh yeah, he's out. He came out like the day after we recorded that episode.
What accent does he have?
It's not British, because a lot of the Galarian...
Yeah, well, that's why I was asking, yeah.
No, it's just like goofy cartoony voice. Like, here, catch this. Something like that.
Oh.
It fits his character. It's Ball Guy. I haven't pulled him yet, hoping. But I will let everyone know. But yeah, so let's see. Wylde Flowers, Ball Guy. I really can't think of anything in particular. Nope, nothing comes to mind. What about you, What have you been up to?
Obviously I've been playing some Wylde Flowers this week. I haven't played as much as you, because I was, as Kevin mentioned, Kevin was like, oh, we should do an episode on Wylde Flowers, and I was like, okay, yeah, fine. I guess I will join you in that. And then we agreed last week that we were going to do it this week, and so I was like, well, I guess I need to play some then. So, so I haven't played a humongous amount, but I've got enough to get a feel of the game.
Okay.
I finished off Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe.
Ooh.
Well, when I say finished, so I finished off the main story, and then I think last week I had done that, and I was just like, I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do after that, and the answer is nothing. So, so I started playing the epilogue, which is where you're playing as what's his name, Magalor? Yeah. I'm not a fan of the epilogue, and the reason I'm not a fan is because I don't like the controls. So it's not that it's not Kirby, right? Because like obviously I like lots of different platformers, right? Like I enjoy platformers. It's one of the things that I really like to play. But the way that Magalor plays just feels really frustrating. So like anytime you do an attack in the air, you start falling down, and then you cannot like do anything else until you hit the ground, and it just feels really frustrating. I feel like that's going to unlock later on, because the way that they're doing the epilogue is like you add more powers as you go on, but it just made some of the like levels in the middle just really frustrating, because it's like I don't have all my powers, and I've got some really hard challenges, which would be fun if I could do things, right? Like there's a point where you're like have to jump over, drop a bomb down, and then somehow make it back onto the thing really quickly, and I just cannot figure out how to do it. There's just no, in my mind, I just can't feel any way to control that. It's really frustrating.
That's interesting because, it's a Kirby game. Like, controls usually aren't an issue. They're usually pretty simple and enjoyable.
Exactly.
So that is really interesting. I am curious. I hope to get that at some point and see for myself.
It's a really nice game. I've not played, obviously, the original, so I don't know how well it is in terms of a remake, but like the game itself plays really well. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I played for a brief amount. It was enjoyable. I imagine there weren't that many significant changes. It was already a pretty modern Kirby game, so I'm sure it's fairly close to the original in terms of its controls. But yeah, okay.
So yeah, I'm done with that.
Beans.
And I have started Coral Island. So I think in the last episode I had mentioned that my key was for Switch, and of course Switch isn't out yet. Well, I managed to contact them and they switched it to a Steam key, so I'm now playing it on my Steam Deck. Woo!
Yee.
So that'll be fun. It may well be covered in an episode in the future.
Ooh.
And I've been obviously kind of going through the Bloom update still, which is fun.
Okay.
They finally, I mean, I think I said this on our original podcast episode about Bloom, but like we finally found a game that I can just play for 5 minutes and then put down every day. Because like that's how Animal Crossing's meant to be played, and I couldn't play it that way. Just something in my mind just stopped me doing that. But I'm managing it for Bloom, which is interesting.
Oh my gosh. Animal Crossing never felt that way to me.
No, it never, but it definitely feels like they want you to play it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I just never could.
Yeah, no, I think most people couldn't. But cool. I'm glad that you found a game that you can play a little bit as a little de-stressor, whatever you want to call it, a little breather, without getting too in depth. That sounds pretty nice. I don't know if I play Unite like daily, but that's for like half an hour.
Yeah.
The 5-minute thing is the kicker.
Yeah, no, I pick it up, I go and check my flowers. If there's something to harvest, I harvest and then replant, and then I check through any new messages, see what the new story is, and then I put it down and pick it up the next day.
That sounds pretty nice.
It is. It's good fun. Cool. Should we talk about some news?
I guess so.
So, first of all, we have Chia. I think that's how it's meant to be said. Chia. This is the game based in New Caledonia, and which Kevin now does believe is a real place. Is that correct?
I believe in New Caledonia.
You believe in it. You can do it. It's New Caledonia.
I'm no longer of the conspiracy crowd.
So it's now out on PS4 and PS5 and on Epic Game Store. So it's interesting. This one seems to have really kind of caught the wider games crowd as well. Like occasionally you get a game that we cover that's like, oh, this is like a game. But like I've seen all the kind of big game journalism places that I follow, like they've all been talking about this game, which is interesting.
That is interesting. I will say though, they dropped a radical trailer for it, so it makes sense it would catch people's attention. Yeah,
definitely. But it looks interesting. I mean, people are basically comparing it to like Breath of the Wild, but more calm, and obviously based in New Caledonia.
Huh. Yeah. I didn't expect that comparison, but okay, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, I've not played it, so I can't confirm whether I would agree with that or not. But
I don't know. I will give especially one props though. Near the end of the trailer, they mention how it was inspired by the homeland of the founders. The development company. It was I don't know how you pronounce it. And they have like voice acting and musics from the local languages from New Caledonian talents, which is very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can like see that in the trailer. Like this, they clearly did that justice. So very cool to see that. Always like seeing small or cultures who haven't gotten a lot of attention get a glow up somewhere. So very, very good for them.
Yeah, definitely. Next, we have a release date for Above Snakes. So this is the one that we were talking about a few weeks ago? We were talking about it with Nami.
On culture. Yep.
So that is coming out on the 25th of May. That's obviously only the Steam version. But the console, I think it's just Switch, is coming later. They've not started working on that yet. They'll be working on that after release. So yeah, there's also a prologue, so you can it's basically just a demo, right?
Right.
You can download that on Steam just now and play that if you would like. I'll put that in the show notes. If you want to try it out and see how the game plays. It says there's about 2 to 3 hours worth of gameplay in the demo prologue.
I'm looking at the trailer because I didn't even remember what the gameplay looked like since our focus is on the culture stuff.
Yeah.
First of all, the game, like, visually looks very nice. I'll give them props for that. Secondly, so it's an isometric game where you build and craft and so on and so forth. But the crazy part is you zoom out on, like, the global map or whatever, and you could just drop chunks of land into an isometric grid, and you, like, just see the land just boom, land and add.
It's a very satisfying thwomp, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, it is. So yeah, it looks good. Yeah, aside from, again, putting all the culture stuff, the game age. So cool. Good for them. May 25th. That's going to be here sooner than I want it to be. Time's going too fast.
Yeah, I don't know how quickly I'll get to this game because, of course, we know what May is. May is Zelda month.
Oh, is it? I didn't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I'm not ready. I have an extra month.
12th of May.
March 2.
March 2. Well, if we were running on the international calendar system, that has 13 months. So
okay. Well,
I mean, it doesn't actually give you any more time.
I know.
But still, not the point. Not the point.
Look, okay. I know the best calendar system is actually from Wylde Flowers. I'll discuss it when we get there. But Wylde Flowers. Just keep this in mind, folks. Wylde Flowers. What? You know what else does it best?
Oh, that's a big assumption.
No,
we've not played it yet.
Good. It needs to be good.
Well, yeah. Terranil, it will be out on Windows by the time this podcast comes out.
I want to say that I was going through the show notes and I saw that and I was like, oh, it's out now. And then I read the parentheses by the time the episode comes out. I'm like, no, it's not now.
But the sad news is the Mac and Linux versions have been delayed.
Is it that sad? Well, okay, Mac people, sure, but Linux.
Hey,
come on!
Wow, why are we being harsh on Linux here? Linux is your Steam Deck. Your Steam Deck runs on Linux. I mean, not your Steam Deck. You don't have a Steam Deck. The Steam Deck runs on Linux.
No.
Although presumably the Steam Deck will just download the Windows version because it can play Windows games as well.
Probably. But that's...
Yep, and the soundtrack is also out now. So if you want to go, and that's on, it's just like a big YouTube, an hour long YouTube video. Wow, let me try saying that again. It's an hour-long YouTube video. So
you said it right already. You just repeated it.
Very calm, relaxing music.
I haven't listened to it. I kind of wanted to, but I'll just wait. You know what's not calm and relaxing?
Enchanted definitely doesn't look calm and relaxing.
Was this the game that we only had a name last week?
I think we talked about it last week, yeah, but we didn't really look into it too much. But I don't think I truly understood what this game was. Because my word,
I definitely didn't.
It basically looks like what's the game I'm thinking of?
Overcooked.
Yes,
it's
Overcooked.
Overcooked.
Yeah.
You're running a magical hotel, Overcooked style. And it looks as chaotic and frantic as Overcooked.
It does.
You can play with up to 4 people. There's upgrades in progress, so I don't think it's like Overcooked with just little levels, but at the same time you're cooking and doing objectives, so I don't know. I'm having trouble understanding how this game works, just other than it's Overcooked, but hotel.
Yeah, it looks... It looks like they have different like kind of levels. So like one of them is in like you're just cooking. One of them there's like a river and you have to go and get the fish from it and then go cook them. Stuff like that. I presume there's a farming one bits as well. You can turn your body into a cake for some reason. I mean, it looks gorgeous.
I'm a little on the like the design, their style they went with, but
I love it.
But for what it is going for, it looks great.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those. You can't say it looks bad. You can say you don't like it, but
for sure,
it's not an actively bad looking game.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in that game because it's got a lot of the cottagecore things. Like, okay, the cooking just looks straight up like Overcooked, but they have like crafting and feeding cows and furnitures and I don't know. There's a lot going on there. I'm really curious because I see like single player. It looks like it could be better for single player than Overcooked, so that would be interesting to see. And you can have an echidna follow you around.
An echidna? Bizarre.
Yeah, it's in the trailer.
Okay. I don't know what to say.
And there's also little onion guys they have to get rid of. There's a lot going on. People just watch this trailer.
Anyway, the point of this was that it's coming out on Tuesday, the same day as Terra Nil, so it will be out by the time this episode comes out on Steam. The Switch version is coming soon, not out yet.
Question mark. I'm interested in giving this game a shot, especially because I have people I can play locally with.
Yes.
But I don't know when I'll be playing with it because Terra Nil drops the same day, and I'll be.
Ancora Lost Days feels like a while since we talked about this, and you might be like, "Oh, but it's already out." It's not out yet on the PS4 and Xbox. So they're coming on the 30th of March, which I think is the day after this podcast.
Okay.
So if you've been waiting for those versions, there you go.
And hopefully it works a little better. Some of those rough edges polished up a little bit. Something tells me no, but who knows? Try it.
Yeah.
It's a fine game.
The physical editions still aren't out yet, but they're coming.
Oh yeah, I looked at that. There's all sorts of physical such.
Look, I am over Ancora Lost Days. I am all in on what's it called? The next one. Mika and the Witches. Oh, there's two. There's Mika and the Witches Mountain, and there's another one that's like a platformer.
Wait, is Mika in the Ancora universe?
Yeah.
Wait, it is?
Yeah.
Oh, what? I didn't know this.
They're all of the chibi games are in the same universe.
I don't remember this, but Mika looks incredible. Who can't? You're right. Who cares about Ancora? Oh no.
Koa and the Five Pirates of Mara. That's the other one. That's the platformer. At some point this year, apparently. I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, Mika is obviously definitely a podcast game.
Mika's just gonna dominate it and be the best.
But the question is, will I prefer it to Summer and Mara or not? That's the big.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
I'm answering yes.
Well, we'll see.
It's just objectively better, you can see.
I don't think there's anything objective about it.
We are the authority. We're the influencers here.
Oh dear. Lens Island now. Lens Island have an update out. The Currents and Controllers update. Very catchy. Can you guess what this has in the update? It has controller support and currents.
Now the currents actually might throw you for a loop because I didn't. Is this what people want? Procedurally generated ocean currents?
Well, I mean, the whole point is this is an exploration game, right? So, currents are accurate to real life. I don't know. I mean, realistically, the reason I'm talking about this is the controller support, right? It's got basic controller support now, but there's more coming later.
Yay.
And also procedurally generated ocean currents. So if that's really what you were like, oh, I've been waiting for this game, but now I get the procedurally generated ocean currents, now's the time to play. Obviously. I don't know what to say. That you can also build on tiny little islands as well now. Yeah. Which is more exciting. I actually really like that. There's over a dozen new sandbanks, coral reefs, and unique rock formations that can be found at sea. Although don't build on a coral reef.
Oh no, don't do that.
Ocean houses can also be useful when building them next to ocean currents for easy traversal around the map. So I think your boats move faster on the currents.
Okay.
I think that's
See,
the
that
idea.
seems fun. Making a network of ocean
doesn't it?
homes with boats. Yeah, that sounds cool.
Just don't like go on one and then find yourself halfway across the world and you're lost now. So be careful.
What was that? The Australian from Finding Nemo? What was that?
Oh yeah. I know what you mean. Can't remember.
EAC, I don't remember. EAC, the East Australian Current. Yeah.
Classic.
Do I get to meet Crush? Choo choo kachoo.
So, Wylde Flowers. Shall we talk about that game?
Fine.
We're not a Finding Nemo podcast.
Not yet. Well, look, we're getting there. We're close. Lens Island and Coral Island. We're on our way.
We even have someone from New Zealand who's occasionally on the podcast. It's not Australia, but it's close.
We do. We have an Australian friend on here. Oh no, Mark! If you ever listen to this, please join us and do Crush impression.
So we're going to talk about Wylde Flowers.
There are no Australians in that game.
A quick bit of background to this game. So it's on Switch and on Apple Arcade. I believe it is at some point coming to PC. I don't know if that's out yet, though. I haven't really been.
I just assume everything on Earth comes out on PC first.
It is out on PC now. No, it didn't come out first. I think they got the. Oh, it looks like the. So we said at the beginning, it came out in September. That was the PC version. So I think the Switch and Apple Arcade one came earlier.
Huh. Okay.
So that. Yeah, so it came. I think they must have got a deal from Apple to get it on Apple Arcade first, and it came out on Switch at the same time, and then it came out on Steam. So, yeah, I mean, I guess. How would you describe this game, Kevin? Other than what I said at the beginning, which was the ultimate Cottagecore game.
I would describe this as the best Stardew clone.
Ooh,
I'm using that.
Interesting.
I'm using yeah. So, okay, I do need to give that a little more nuance because it's a very clickbaity thought.
No,
there.
we don't want nuance.
So I call it a Stardew clone, but it doesn't feel like a clone. I mean, it feels like there's the same DNA because it's a farming game, and people probably have played Stardew and learned lessons from that. But everything is polished and innovated in meaningful way, right? Like, there's some games you look at and you're like, yeah, that's just Stardew plus X or whatever, right?
Yeah.
This game takes it up a notch on like every level. Like every mechanic feels like they tweaked or changed meaningfully. The whole presentation, there's a full 3D game with full voice acting. That's nuts. I didn't expect full voice acting. But yeah. But it has a lot of the same basic DNA of not having enough hours in the day to do the 20 million tasks you want to do, and an energy system and farming and all that good stuff. For the full disclosure, I am not done with summer in my first year yet. Which that said, that's a significant amount of time though. Which I will explain a little how that works. What about you, Al? What are your thoughts thus far?
Yeah, so I'm further behind than you because, as I mentioned, I only started. But I think you don't have to play a lot of this game to know how well it plays. And I mean, let's put it this way: I don't think I'm going to stop playing this game immediately. It definitely. I think I agree in it. It feels inspired. It definitely feels inspired by Stardew, but it doesn't seem to be doing things because Stardew does them. Like it does a lot of things differently.
Yes.
I think it's doing what Stardew did. It's taking something and going, how would I like this to work instead?
Yes, exactly.
That's good. That's how we wanted it to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of wanted to make that point in my head earlier, but so like Stardew was like a jump from Harvest Moon, right? Wylde Flowers it feels like a jump from Stardew. Maybe
I think
not.
I would say so. I think that Stardew generally did everything better. I will say that I think Wylde Flowers does everything different, but I think a lot of it could be up to how you like how it plays, right? Like I can absolutely see how someone would not like this game.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was about to say that, right? Like, I don't think it's because Stardew defined a genre basically.
Hmm.
Like, it was a game changer, right? I don't think
Hmm.
Wildflowers is a game changer, but it's a very solid game, a great
Hmm.
game. Uh, so yeah, no, I agree with you there. Like, I said that's why I was a little hesitant saying that because it's not the next Stardew, but it is.
No.
It's a great game. I will. Oh, one thing I should add. So I didn't expect to play Wildflowers. I picked it up for reasons that, a few reasons, that I will have to discuss at another time with you, Al. That's some behind the scenes stuff.
Intriguing.
But what's interesting is at first I wasn't that interested because one of my big criticisms is the art style. Like I don't like how the design looks. I don't know, just kind of
I
on it.
agree. The
Yeah.
people's design there's something about it that creeps me out.
It's the Bratz doll look kind
Mm.
of thing. Something
Hmm.
about their heads and their hands, and I don't know. Just it's
Hmm.
I got used to it over playing so much, but I'm
Hmm.
still not a fan of it.
Hmm.
So at first I wasn't that interested, and on paper it sounded like just another farming game. But once I looked at the reviews, they were all really good, and then I played it. I was like, oh, I'm not just playing this anymore for the podcast. I'm really enjoying this now.
Yeah.
That's it. Consumed my week because I was enjoying it. So yeah, it's unexpectedly for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into it.
Yeah, let's talk about. So I think we're gonna. I think I've got a list of mechanics I want to talk about. First one is, for me, the first thing that kind of struck me was the movement. So I think so. Apart from the fact that you can just jump over fences, which have you noticed that yet? You can just jump over fences.
Blew my mind. It blew my mind. You could just run
It's
up to
just,
and jump over it.
what is this? It was bizarre. I was like, I was
You're
not
in a
expecting that
dress,
to happen.
too. Oh, Tara is the character's name, by the way. It's not Stardew, your own farmer. You're playing a character named Tara.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Actually, maybe let's talk about
Yes.
that because there is
Oh.
basically no character customization, because of that.
They
And
added the boutique. It's an update. I started
sure,
that quest.
Sure.
But that's
Sure.
close. But
Sure.
this is not empty character
Yeah.
self-insert. You are playing
Yeah.
Tara Wylde.
And I always feel a bit kind of like I don't think every game has to have character customization.
No, they do not. And this is a great example of why not.
Yeah, I think I think I would have no issues with that if there wasn't romance in the game. But it feels weird to have romance in a game where I'm not playing as a character I've created. Because then I'm like, well, what do I do here? Am I choosing for this character or am I choosing for me? Like who am I choosing for here? And I don't know what to do in that situation.
Look, I've played Fire Emblem. Like I matchmake. I know this, so it's not that odd to me, I guess. But I see what you mean, right? Like it is weird that Terra is a fully defined character, except in romance you can kind of navigate that however you want. So that's interesting. I don't know. I feel like there's a deep thought here, but I can't think of it right now. But I see what you mean. You would think as a full character she'd have her own preference.
Yeah.
There.
It's just a small thing, and I suspect the way I'm going to deal with it is by just not doing the romance, because as we've discussed, we don't think every game needs to have romance, and I think if you're not feeling it, don't do it.
Yeah,
that's the beauty of these games, right?
Yep. I think so. In this one, despite people talking about it, because there's several single people, and it's a thing. The dialogue's well written, and that's brought up. There still doesn't feel like a lot of pressure that you have to get hitched or anything like that. Even if like your grandmother tells you you should get hitched or whatever. It's very nice that it's pretty light, while still being a strong component. It's in a very nice balance. And you say that, Al, but you haven't met Wesley yet.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no. I'm probably going with Wesley, but that's I'll talk about that later. But okay, going back to what we opened with, the movement. Yes, Tara is wearing a dress and can jump over fences, and it's nuts. It blew my mind. You can do that. You don't have to walk to the doors. It's great.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how you react to what I'm about to say, but I'm not a fan of the movement in the game in general.
No.
And it might be
Mm-hmm.
Now, you've kind of ruined my might be there, but I'm going to say what I was going to say anyway. It might be because I'm playing on the iPad. I'm not sure. So the way that movement works on the iPad is there's actually two different ways of doing it, but they start out by you basically dragging around on the screen vaguely where you want them to go. So if they're like in the middle of the screen, right, and you want them to go up, you have to drag above their you have to like press, not drag, but you have to like press the screen above the character, and they will go in that direction. So, which is just really, which probably works fine on a phone, but and I'm not even playing on a big iPad. I'm playing on the iPad Mini, right? So it's basically just like a big phone, but it might be better on a phone if you can like reach the whole screen. But like it's really awkward. It's really awkward because you're like, I want to go across to this plant, and you have to like basically press in that general direction to get it. It was really weird and awkward. There is a setting where you can change it to have a virtual joystick, which is what I did because I was going literally insane. And that's
awful.
better. Yeah, I don't know why it's the default. I really don't know why it's the default.
I don't know. That's odd.
Or why they don't give you the option when you're starting up. Which movement style would you like? That would be fine, right? Because I get why some people might want that, especially if they're playing on a phone. But that is an insane default, and not even to tell you there's another option. I was all ready to complain about this, and I was like, well, let me just check the settings. And yes, there is a setting to have a virtual joystick, so I have done that. But other than that, I mean, the movement is fine, but there's something about it that I'm not a huge fan of, and I'm not sure what it is. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm playing on Switch, so I'm using a non-virtual joystick.
Yes.
I'm playing on a controller.
A joystick, you might call it.
Yes, a physical joystick. So I don't have that whole issue, which just sounds nightmarish. But the movement, I think it's just too slow. I think that's the biggest thing. Her walking's kind of slow. But I think it's intentional. It's like Stardew. I think, if I recall correctly, don't you speed up in Stardew? You get faster. I could be wrong, but
I think so. It's intentional. You can get the horse.
Yeah. Well, at the very least, it does that. I think it's intentional because you can get speed ups later in the game. So I think they slowed it down so you feel very incentivized speed ups, which, as of right now, I've seen there is a spell you can cast on yourself and a broomstick. Did we describe the hook of this game? I don't think we did we? That you're farming by day, witch by night?
Yeah, I guess we could talk about that.
Yeah, I should just point out that's a selling point, right? You're Stardew, but you're also a witch by night. So magic is a thing in this game. And one of the spells you can cast on yourself is a speed up spell. I've not used it yet, but that's the biggest thing for me, I think. It's just the movement's a little on the slow side, especially with all the things you want to do. The map isn't as big as Stardew's, I don't think, to compensate for that, but
yeah, so that is one thing I wanted to talk about. It's not a huge map, and I actually quite like that, right? Like, so I mentioned I've been playing Coral Island, and that is a huge map, and like they can be big, and there can be advantages and disadvantages to it. But I actually quite like playing a game that has quite a small area, because it's like I am not playing an exploration game. I am not playing this game to explore. I am playing this game to farm and to get married or to like mine or do some like boring repetitive stuff. And apparently in this case, magic. But yeah, I'm not looking for an exploration game, right? There are other games that I might play to do that. And so, yeah, I quite like the fact that it's quite a small map.
Yeah, no, it's very deliberate, right? Everything, how it's placed, and because it's small, there's a lot to see and do on the island. But you learn it quickly, and you know how to get to it.
You do learn it reasonably quickly. However, I will say I am not a fan of like the map they have in game because it tells you nothing.
It's not great. It does
right.
not.
It tells you nothing. Right. There's like a quest very early on where you have to meet everyone in the village, and I'm like, okay, where are they? There's one person that I haven't found. I don't know who this person is. I don't know where they are. Turns out they live like a hermit in the forest.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
but I found them. But it's just like I don't understand like how they're like, oh, go to this shop, and you're like, how do I get to that shop? I don't know. Yeah. Like, sure, it's in the main town, but like there are about 10 shops in the main town. Am I expected to go into each like the The map gives you no indication as to what is where at all, other than like, this is the town, this is the forest, this is the beach. That's it. There's no other indication as to where anything is.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. Maps garbage, not worth even looking at. But
you do learn it pretty quickly because it is quite small. Yeah. So that's only a very early. Like I learned that really quickly on. Like I haven't played the game a huge amount at all, and I know pretty much the whole map now.
Yeah, but no, like that's that sort of thing. I don't know why really irks me in games in general. Right? Like that's bad game design, right? Game design, you want your things to be functional and useful, right? So that's something that always bugged me. I will say though, in terms of the actual map, like the island, there are 2 big area expand. I say big, quote unquote. There are 2 areas to expand. One is you have a mountain area you have to access by building a bridge. And the other one is, there's another area in game. You can see it. I don't want to say it's later in the game. It's on like the website, so it's not really spoilers, but I won't mention it here. But anyway, it expands is the point I'm trying to say. And more characters move in, so there are more buildings and things to see later. But in general though, the map is good. And I haven't gotten a broom yet, but I hope once I get a broom, the movement feels good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I obviously don't have the broom either, but I like the look of it, and it's not like it's horrific movement. It's just a bit meh, and I literally do not understand why they made the decision on the default control scheme for the.
That would ruin it for sure.
Insane for me.
Insane.
All right, cool. Let's talk about farming, an important topic for us to discuss.
We talk about that here?
We talk about farming still, even though we're not a farming game podcast. We still talk about farming games. Farming. We still talk about farming. Oh my word! Words
in games.
What are words? So I guess it's quite a simple farming. You have like these beds that you use, so you don't have like a plot of land that you hoe. You just have these beds that you then plant a seed in. It's kind of like when I'm trying to think, was it Doraemon Story of Seasons, where you plant one seed in it, or you buy a seed and you plant it, and it's like multiple seeds. It's like that.
Maybe so I don't remember, but yeah,
you pay for potato seed and you get 4 potatoes out of it, right? So like that's how it works, and then you water that and stuff. So you can get you've got a reasonable space of land. I think it starts out quite small, but you can expand across the other bits of land. So I think it's a pretty decent amount, but if you want to keep things really low key, you still can. I quite like the farming. It's kind of simple, but I think it works quite well.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I do have a question for you. See, when you're like going to water, how does it work on the Switch? Because how it works on the iPad is you go to it and then a little icon appears above the bed where you plant the seeds, and you have to press on a button to then select what you want to plant, and then you have to select the icon to then water. So like, does it work kind of like that, or is it more like a traditional farming game where you just go up and press a button?
Yeah, actually, and let's go back to the movement/controls talk, because it's just traditional. You go up to it and push A to say select the plot, and then the icons are still there. I know the ones, they're like little speech bubbles, and you scroll, you go between them, and using the joystick, and I'm going to water, I'm going to plant, whatever, right?
So the touch screen doesn't work for pressing them.
Oh, I've been playing primarily on the dock, to be honest. I don't know. I haven't checked on the touch screen. I think I did use it briefly, and I used if the touchscreen worked for something.
Right. Okay.
Oh, in fact, there's like at least one touchscreen exclusive function. There's some menus where you can, like, when you're buying stuff or selling stuff, how much you want to sell. There's like you skip by a whole bunch. You have to tap those. You can't. I haven't been able to figure out how to use them on the control.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, I do have a big complaint about this. I forgot about that. So it makes a lot of sense knowing like that. It feels like it was designed more for iPad, maybe, because the boxes are very loose and not always great. So if you're near like 3 plots of land, sometimes it's hard to pick the one you want to water.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, whereas on the iPad it works really well. You just go up, and if you're right next to them, you just tap on the one you want.
Yep.
It's not my favorite way of
Mm-hmm.
of controlling it, but it definitely feels like it was designed for that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. That's a little irritating, especially when you're trying to talk to multiple people and you want to talk to one person, but you pick the wrong one and the other one starts walking away from you, and then you have to say, "No, come back." I guess this is kind of related to the movement and farming. One of the things is, I guess, like Stardew, the clock is really fast. Stuff happens really fast.
You can change that.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, it's in the settings.
I need to look into that. Because, oh man, like when you're farming, right? Like if you're like me, somebody who likes to be super efficient, like I want to have this soil ready at this time. And you click on the wrong thing and you lose 10 minutes. Like, no, now I'm behind. It's very irritating.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's an option. You can make it slower or faster.
Looking into options. What a genius idea. Going back to the farming, I agree pretty much with your sentiments. At first, I think I was expecting maybe a little more because I like the farming and the area is very small. I still haven't been able to expand to the bigger area because I get sidetracked by a lot of stuff.
No.
Like, there's... Right, because expanding the farm takes resources. You have to get wood and iron or money or whatever. And the resource management in this game it's demanding. Like it takes a lot of work to get it, and then you can spend it in like 5 different ways. It's a good balance though. It's not to the point where it feels like I just can't get enough, but it just makes me work for it, not unjustly, which I guess kind of like Stardew, but just a little more resource heavy because this game focuses a little more on crafting and things like that.
Yeah. I feel like we're moving into the crafting conversation. I have severe issues with the crafting.
Oh, you just want to complain. That's all that happens. You just want to get your complaints.
I do want to complain. Right. So this is not going to be as bad as my time with Portia. This is not going to be a rant like that.
Or but Animal Crossing.
I will say that this game very definitely is one of the you craft a thing to craft a thing to craft a thing to craft a thing, right? And I'm never a huge fan of that. I like how Stardew did it, where you're like, yeah, sure, you have to have like things to like smelt things, and that's fine. You have to have those changed, right? I get that. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. The issue is when you're crafting an item that then you use to craft another item, or there are like multiple ways to craft items. That's where it gets me really annoyed. So like Stardew was like, here's your crafting menu, just choose what you want, and that really worked really well. The problem here is immediately when you start the game, there are 2 crafting tables. 2 different crafting tables.
There's a lot of crafting tables.
That's a really bad start. And that was when I was like, oh no, here we go. Right? Because it wasn't even like there's one and then you get another one later. It was no, here are 2. Because I was like, oh, you need to go and craft a compost bin and I'm like, okay, fine. Because you have to craft a compost bin and then you put some weeds in the compost bin and that gives you compost, and then you use the compost to make a bed for seeds. And I'm like, okay, fine, whatever, right? That's not the worst thing, but it's a bit annoying that you're like these things. So I was like, okay, well, let me go into this shed that I noticed the crafting table was in. And I'm like, there's no thing for a compost bin in here. Am I missing something? And so I went into the one thing I will say is the questing works really well. The quests have like a little hint button that tell you the information, so you don't have to remember it all. Really nice.
So good. Not just that, there's a show hint button, but you can see like the whatever you need, you can click on it and it'll tell you, okay, you need to get these ingredient, location, etc., etc.
Yeah. So it's really nice.
But it's great.
So I went and clicked the hint button on that one and it was like, oh, use the crafting table next to the farming area. And I'm like, what? There's another crafting table? So you have to then come out of the shed and go across to where you're farming, and then there's another crafting table there. And why? Just why? Why would you do that? Just give me one crafting menu for all these things, right? The crafting a compost bin to get compost to then also craft other things. That's fine, whatever. I get that there's chains like that, right? That's people just trying to add more of that stuff. That's fine, whatever. I don't have an issue with that, right? it can be a bit kind of like roll my eyes when it's like, oh yeah, I need to craft another thing to make more things, right? But whatever. But it's when you have multiple ways to craft items that just drives me insane. Just make it one crafting table. Ugh. And it wasn't even like you unlock the second crafting table later on. They were both there from the beginning.
No, you unlocked the other 3 later on.
I can't. I just. Oh my word! It's not as bad as my Time of Portia because it is just like go into the press a button. But I should not have to remember which crafting table to go to craft certain items. It's just. Oh my word! It drives.
In its defense, no
defense.
Most of the time, it makes sense. You want to craft the compost bin. Well, guess it doesn't go into your inventory. It just, when you craft it, it's like poof. Here, okay, place the bin. Where do you want it? So you can't do that at the tool shed.
No defense. They could have. That's a bad decision, right? It's a bad reason for a bad decision for a bad gaming mechanic that they made. They could have done it better. They chose not to. They chose to make it confusing so that there's no way for me to remember which crafting table I need to go to.
Specifically for you.
Yeah,
targeted.
They're trying to annoy me.
They heard the episode, whatever, My Time Portia, whatever. They heard it. They heard your complaints, and they said, "Let's aggravate it."
Nothing will ever be as bad as the crafting in My Time in Portia. The having to figure out where to put items in 3D space to craft an item was the most insane thing I have ever experienced in a game.
Oh, that's beautiful.
All right, I'm done. What were your thoughts on the crafting?
Okay, that didn't get to me, but like, all joking aside, like, I see your reasoning. I don't think you're being
Thank you.
Yeah, they could have designed that differently. But personally, it doesn't bother me that much. What I do want to comment on is like, the system as a whole is, like I mentioned, the game uses it pretty significantly. You can cook, craft stuff with your stove to cook recipes. You need to craft potions and spells, all sort. There's a lot of different things you can craft, and you need to. Some of them are kind of optional and really beneficial, like a lot of the spells. Other of them are very quest driven, as you said. Good quest system in this game. But it's definitely more than Stardew. Like, you need to craft more than Stardew.
It is a game that has a lot of crafting, and it's kind of one of the few things that you can't get away with doing in the game, with not doing in the game.
Exactly.
But it also feels like they all have a purpose.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, the 2 crafting tables aside, everything else, it feels like you're doing it for a reason, right? Like, I may roll my eyes at the fact that you have to do 5 things in a chain to just plant a seed, right? But at least it's trying to do something, and it's not just going, oh, here's a magic thing to do this, right? It's trying to make it more realistic, but not too realistic so that it's like Farming Simulator, right? Like, it's not like that sort of level, but it's trying to actually explain, why are we doing these things? There's a reason for everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, all in all, I think the system is well done, aside from, those, again, doesn't personally bother me, but I see your point in those gripes, and it could always be improved for sure. But like, the biggest, and this isn't, again, not so much a complaint, but because it's so crafting heavy, it's very resource heavy. Like, you've got to always be getting wood and mining or whatever, which is not the worst, because, you're just playing the game. But it's just a lot of pressure.
It fits it, but I think the beauty is it's only a lot of pressure if you're trying to get through it as quickly as possible, right? If you're playing these games like these games are designed to be played, they're meant to be calm. You play a couple days here and there, and you just go and do what you can do. And if you can't get that quest done today, we'll do it tomorrow, right? Like, there's very little like, you must do this now. Like, I still have one of the quests from like my second day, and I haven't completed it just because I've just not got to that bit yet. That's fine, right? But like, on some other levels, I'm really far past that, right? Like, it's just, that's fine. Like, it works quite well for that sort of game.
That is a very good point, right? I was rushing to it because I wanted to see some certain things and have more to talk about for the podcast. But that's a very excellent point.
Oh, sure. That is our problem that we have created for ourselves.
Yep. And also, there's a little bit of I have this quest, I want to get it done, sort of thing. But that is just a personal thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want to add one more thing to that. This is perhaps, I think, the greatest innovation in this entire genre since Stardew. You've just started. So here's the thing, right? So like in Stardew Valley, you have quests, like let's say you need strawberries or whatever, right? You have days to do it, but it has to be done in that season to get
Hmm.
that quest done or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In this game, in Wildflowers, seasons change when you want them to.
I had not, because I've not done any. I had not realized
No,
this.
I know you don't realize it until a certain point, but
Oh my word!
essentially, okay. Well, I'm getting into the magic a little bit now, but the witches on the island control the weather and so to move to summer, it's a quest. Okay, you want to move to summer? Here's this potion. You can craft it, give it to us. We'll do the ritual, and it'll move into summer. And there is no timeline, punishment, or pressure to do that. So you can take all the sweet time you want in spring to get all your spring resources, do your spring quests, whatever you want to do. It's incredible.
Crazy.
Blew
I
my
don't know what to
mind.
say.
Yeah, it's a game changer. Um, and of course they will give you the warning. Okay, it's about to turn to summer. All your spring crops are gonna all your spring crops will die if they don't grow in summer, which happened to me because I didn't pay attention just to like some flowers. But anyways,
Oh, I'm sure
um,
it's happened to all of us.
yeah, but it's great. They let you know, and it's all up to you. So the again going back to like the whole crafting, resource gathering, you're right. This is like the most relaxed, chill you can be about it because you don't even have that seasonal limit. You can just take as all your sweet time to do however many days you want. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. So, let's talk a little more about those resources. Unless you have anything else to say about crafting.
No.
Okay.
I've done my rant. I'm all good.
Yeah. Okay. Fishing is a pretty cool improvement in this one too. Um, because there's a lot of fish in this game. Um, so there's two things that they do I think that make fishing fun and interesting. First of all, it's Animal Crossing style, not Stardew Valley. You don't have to do a weird mini game with the bobber. You just push A when it bites,
It's
which is
crazy.
always great.
Yeah, I don't. I
um,
haven't done it a huge amount, so I don't know whether there's the thing with Animal Crossing where you have a different amount of time to press the button depending on the fish.
as of I experienced so far, no, I have not encountered
Right. Okay.
that, and it's very generous.
Yeah.
You
It
don't.
is. Oh,
It's
yeah. Well,
not.
yeah. Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
leaning into the like this is I think a lot of it is it's if assuming that you play it the way it's kind of designed to play, it is
Mm-hmm.
generally a stress-free, calm
Yes.
game. Like it is.
Yes.
It is, as I said, the ultimate cottagecore game, right? Like it's designed to just be you are living in this place and you're just doing these things, and if things don't happen really quickly, that's okay. If you don't
Yep.
immediately press the button when the fish latches on, that's okay. You've
Yep.
got some time. Calm, go for it whenever you want.
Yeah. That is beautifully said. And especially now that I learned I can change the time in the settings. Um, but yeah. But okay, so they do two cool things aside from the generous Animal Crossing style. One, okay, they give you bait, different kinds of bait. You can use like worms, a bait fish, and like a cricket, something like that. There might be other ones, but that's all I've seen so far. And the different kinds of bait will attract different fish. And the fish also depend on the location. You know, there's the beach, the river, the lake, yada yada yada. So that makes it very diverse and not repetitive, right? Because like in Animal Crossing or a lot of other games with fishing, right? If you fish here at the river, you're gonna expect to get a bass or whatever. In Wildflowers, not only can you use different bait, but you can see different styles of shadows of fish. Like you'll see little fish, big fish, fish that looks like a lobster. It's not one to one, but it gives you a category. Like if you see a lobster shadow, it's gonna be something that's not just a fish. It's gonna be a squid or an eel or something like that. And perhaps the even cooler thing that they do. So if you go to a spot, you'll see usually 2 to 3 fish there. When you drop your rod in with the bait, you can essentially choose which fish you want. Because if a little fish bites it and you don't want it, you just can wait and the little fish will leave and then the big fish can come and bite it, and then you can pull it up. And it doesn't use any extra bait or anything. It's awesome.
Yeah. I agree. It's
Good
a
fishing.
pretty good fishing minigame.
Yeah.
I mean, calling it a minigame is a bit over the top, right? It's not even a minigame.
It's a mechanic.
Right? It's yeah. There's no minigame to it, and that's why we like it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I like either a fishing mechanic or a full-on fishing game, but no weird Stardew minigame.
Yeah. I mean, I keep flip-flopping on these things, but I'm sure we'll have this discussion in the fishing minigames episode that we haven't mentioned before.
One thing I will also say about fishing, one of the best characters, his name is Bruno, is the fishing guy, and I love him so much. He's the guy who teaches you how to fish, and you sell all your fish to him. Mining. Okay. Well, I mean, what's there to say about mining? There's mines. There's no monsters. That's the big one. There's no combat in this game. So it's just going down there and hitting rocks.
This one I haven't done, so it's all you.
Okay. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so when you open the mine, which is a project you have to do, you have to get resources to fix up the entrance and get into the mine. You're given a pickaxe, and just like Stardew, you hit rocks and they open and drop whatever, right? To proceed to the next level, because like most of these games, there's levels on these mines. You have to basically hit rocks randomly until you find a key randomly inside one. And as you go farther in or farther down, there's more resources to find. The levels get bigger. But it's pretty much the same process. As you upgrade your pickaxe, you can break rocks faster and use less energy, etc. It's nothing significant. A lot of the quests use a lot of mine resources like stone and iron and whatnot, so you will spend some time in there. But again, no pressure, no stress, no combat. Just go in there and it's pretty simple, but like most things in this game, pretty satisfying in my and yeah, I think that's all I have to say on the mining aspect of it. Let's see, I'm trying to think. It's pretty much like wood chopping, right? You go around, chop trees. It's pretty much like that, just in caves.
Yeah, I think a lot of a lot of the game is that, right? Like you go to a place, it shows you that you can interact with it. You press a button, either a physical button or you tap the button that's the interactable thing, and it does a thing. So yeah, I haven't done the mining just because I haven't unlocked the mine yet.
Well, it's there's nothing crazy. It's nothing mind blowing. But let's see. Aside from that, I guess the only other big mechanic is the magic system, which I think you've just kind of grazed or touched. Is that right, Al?
I have unlocked it, but not done anything with it yet.
Okay.
Like I literally unlocked it this morning.
Okay. So magic is kind of really just another crafting system. You craft potions and spells primarily, and various ingredients to craft the items and spells. But because it's magic, this is like the fun cheating, not your standard farm games. Some of the spells are ridiculously powerful. There is a freeze time spell where if you use it, it will freeze time in the location you are, and you can take as long as you want. It'll just stop when you leave the area. It's pretty insane. There's a lot I haven't unlocked yet, but there's a lot of other potion spells that do stuff on that level. There's potions that'll, I think, tell you what a person likes or even improve their relationship with you, etc., etc. The big ones are the season-changing potions. I think there will be weather-changing spells. I haven't encountered them yet. There's still a lot left for me to see into the magic stuff, but it's
basically
just
a cheat system.
Yes, it is.
It's like a built-in cheat system that you unlock as you go through the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's not that uncommon as well. Like when you get to a certain point in Stardew, you get like you're transporting things, and you can pay the wizard to do certain things. You can change the weather, that sort of stuff. So, like, I guess it's not unusual. It's not a brand new thing, but the way that it's done is different, right? Like the presentation,
it fits naturally. It's great.
So I presume the spells you're making using the stuff that you grow, right? Like that's where it's kind of leading to. That's what it feels like.
It's okay. So spells, what you have to do is you have to get paper, which you use a paper press to make it out of wood. You use ink, which you can fish up from squid or charcoal later on in the mines. Those are like the two basic ingredients for every spell. And then after that, it's a variety of different things for spells. Potions, that uses more of the stuff you can find and grow. A lot of the foraging stuff,
okay.
like mushrooms and certain weeds and plants you pick up, you use those for various potions. So it's a mix of different things. But again, it's, resource heavy crafting system, but it feels good. Nothing feels unreasonable or unnatural. And yeah, and it's in depth. Like I said, there's still a lot I haven't seen. But it all looks very promising. Like, I know you get the broom you can fly on at some point. I haven't unlocked it, but I can't wait to get it.
Yeah. I can't imagine using the broom with the default iPad control scheme.
Oh gosh. Oh god. I can't imagine playing anything.
Sorry, I was just reminded of that. All right, cool. Is that all mechanic stuff we want to talk about then? Do you want to talk about relationship stuff? I've not touched any of it. I don't really care about it.
I mean, it's okay.
Seems pretty standard, right?
Yeah, this is our segue into the characters because it's a farming game, so characters are big, right? The relationship stuff is standard. You can gift people. You can just talk to them daily. You don't have to go to a separate
different
menu.
Numbers of hearts you can grow rather than like a standard the same number for all of them.
Yeah, that is cool. That you can see the actual romanceable people have like 10 hearts, something like that. Then there's people with like 3 hearts that you can just be buddies with, and there's like a cat with like 1 heart or something like that. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty basic, nothing crazy. There's the gifting system, but I don't give them any gifts because crafting resources are valuable. But what is nice is the actual cast. I don't know how much you've met or what you. Well, give me your general thoughts. What do you think of the cast?
I've met everybody because everybody other than I believe there are some characters that come later on. I've met all of the in the beginning characters. Yes, I will say that. I mean, I don't like some of them, but I don't like some people, so that feels quite accurate, right?
What?
Like, no one in particular. I'm not calling anyone out here.
No, call them out now. Call them out. Who's the Cameron in your life, Al?
But it definitely feels like everybody has a personality. I haven't played it enough to know to make the comparison to Stardew. Like, I don't want to say it's better than Stardew. I don't know whether it's better or worse than Stardew, but it feels better than average. In terms of the characters, it feels like there's a lot of thought put into them. Like most farming games that I play, most Cottagecore games that I play, there's like maybe 2 people that I can be bothered to get to know. Stardew was the unique one in that everyone felt like they were a character and felt unique and felt like it was interesting to get to know them, even the ones you didn't like. And this feels like that as well. But as I say, I've not gone through it enough to know like, oh, these are amazing.
Okay. I think that's okay. So yeah, obviously I've spent a lot of time with these characters, so I can speak to it a bit more. Yeah, I think like Stardew, they are characters, fully fleshed out characters etc. I think it's not maybe the characters, but the dialogue and writing in this game are really well done.
Right. Okay.
And they're all fully voice acted, so that helps. So they feel a little more fleshed out than Stardew characters. At times the Stardew characters maybe or feel a little more one note or caricature, like you know what I mean? Like Linus is the hermit guy that's kind of his whole thing, right? And that's still kind of the case here. Everyone has a role in town. There's the butcher and whatever, but you get to see they get to comment on different things. You see a little more rounded personalities. But in general, I mean, it's a strong cast. I've definitely have my favorites. Like I mentioned, Bruno is the fishing guy. He's a really cool old dude. Okay, do you have anyone that stands out for you so far, Al? Let's say that.
Not particularly. I think I guess Violet, I think, it has been the only one that's kind of like been vaguely interesting to me, just because I wasn't wanting to focus on that area of things, because I had such a limited amount of time. So she's the only one that, like, without doing much, I've kind of seen something, especially as, like, so she runs the flower shop. Puts bouquets together, and there's like one quest you do for her where she's like, "Oh, thanks for these. I don't really care about flowers, but it's a job." And you're like,
Yep.
I mean, all right, I see where you're coming from. It's just really funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the only kind of thing I've vaguely seen.
Yeah. This game is pretty good at making me laugh. I will say that the writing is pretty strong. Like I said, one of my favorite quotes in the game is you're talking to one of the child characters and like, man, when will summer get here? It feels like taking forever. And Tara responds, I'm working on it. But yeah, no, I'm not going too in depth, but okay. What about the mayor? What about Otto? There's a mayor character and he's the most politician character ever.
Oh my word, he is like so like I don't know much about him, but he just feels so sleazy.
Nope. What you see is what you get. I haven't seen anything. I'm sure maybe there is, but so far, vote
like just
for
like
Mayor
his
Otto.
hairstyle, he's so slick and
He has
plastic.
the pompadour.
He looks like a Ken doll, right?
Yeah,
like
he does.
he's so ridiculous.
It's great. It's great. He, by the way, Bruno is his dad, and even like Bruno's like, man, what the heck, son? What the heck? But yeah, no. So yeah, I enjoy the characters because Otto, you love to hate Otto. He's great. He's such a politician, man. But yeah, I don't want to get too in depth for all the characters.
No, we don't want to spoil things too much for people. No. But yeah, I think it's important to talk about the fact that because this could obviously affect whether people want to play the game or not. Like if you're really into like characters and relationships and these storylines, I think it's good. It's you know.
Yeah, there is one important point about, in general, not about one specific character. This game, it's almost amusing to me. Like they wrote down a checklist of every like ethnicity and orientation and everything, and they hit all those check boxes.
Yeah,
you've got everyone in this little town. Which hey, it's great, right?
It's good. It's good as a. It's good as a representation and a gameplay thing, but it makes zero sense. Like there is literally no place in the world. There is no place in the world that is this diverse.
Nope.
But that's not.
Or
that's not a complete. It's just funny when you think about it. Or or that accepting. Yeah. Especially a rural farming village.
Especially Otto, man. Like, Otto should be saying some things. If he were in real life.
But no, great for everyone's going to see someone like. Well, I mean, there's some missing things. Like, there's no kind of, as far as I can see, no disabled person.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, yeah,
stuff like that. But you can't have everything.
Yeah, no, like, okay, yeah, but like as far as games, especially in the gaming world, like they made the effort to have a little bit of everything, as you know. But yeah, so I think that's all I really have to say on the characters in general.
Cool.
Do you have something else?
No, I was just saying. Okay. I was just going to segue.
Okay.
So I guess we want to talk a little bit about the story. We're not going to talk proper spoilers, but I think it's probably important to just point out that we're going to talk about the story because this is going to be the last thing we're going to talk about. So if you are. If you don't want to hear anything that would spoil you and you're like, I must play this game, you can pause now and go play the game and then come back. We're not going to be talking about anything that's past the first 2 hours of gameplay, probably.
I
suspect
nothing. Are we? I don't know. I mean, I have things. I'll talk about things in vague terms because I think
we're not going to talk about any actual story points past the first kind of big thing that you do. I think so. That's your point. We're going to talk about that.
Yeah. Spoilers, there's a story in this game. What?
Well, that is an interesting thing, right? Because like quite often these games will hang on to the characters and that is their story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine and that works really well. And like Stardew does a wee bit more than that in that it has the Joja stuff, but it's really, really small, right? It's basically just Corporation Bad, which is fine. I like that as a storyline, but that's all it is, really.
Yep.
Whereas this game has an actual storyline, right? So you're like, you start off and you're like, oh, blah, 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 that's fine, we're doing some things. And then you're like, oh, go and get this flower from this forest at night. And you're like, okay, right, weird, but all right. And then it's like, oh, here's this creepy group of people coming through and doing this thing. And oh, look, your grandma's part of it. And it's like this kind of like really actual story type thing that kind of pulls you in pretty straight away.
Mysteries, questions, answers.
Well, are there answers? I don't know. I've not got to that bit yet. Well, I have the questions and the mysteries at this point.
Yeah, I mean, like even I don't know. There's all the answers. Right. Like I say that it's not like a whole narrative, but there's definitely a rail here and story guiding and right, it's about Tara learning she's a witch because she doesn't know that when she gets to the island. And learning about that world basically, right? There is this is maybe perhaps the only spoilery-ish thing I will say, but there's an overarching thing of Hazel, Tara's grandmother, wanting the witches to come out of the secret life that they live in and commingle with the community. So that feels like really the overarching goal, the end goal, overarching story, whatever you want to call it. And as you progress, especially like spring, the end of spring is a big turning point. There's a big event that happens and a lot of new characters move in. I mean, there's some that move in, there's some that just you encounter and so on and so forth. And you meet people on the island who are involved with magic, but then you meet even more people who are even more involved in magic, which is very fun, very cool. But I mean, all in all, again, like the rest of the game, it all makes sense. It's not heavy-handed, but it all feels right. It's very well done.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I've not gotten very far.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I obviously there's a lot for me too. I'm only not even done with a full year yet, but so far what I've seen, I like where it's going. If the world feels bigger, the whole magical witch aspect of it, once you pass spring, you really start to feel it, and it's great. I think it's not like a Phoenix Wright game that's only story, right? It's still you're still focused on the farming and the crafting, but the story's there. It's nice and
it's something that you get through as you do the quests, right? So like you've got all these natural quests that you just as you do them you learn more, and it works really well. So you can go through it really quickly if you want to, if you want to be as stressed as you are, or you can just kind of go at your own pace and just do it. And I'm intrigued to see where this goes.
Of course, I should also say that characters have their own little stories and arcs, much like Stardew, right?
Yeah.
And some of them do genuinely intrigue me. For instance, Cameron, like, okay, I'm going to talk about this one character in a little more detail because it's an interesting one. Do you remember who Cameron is, Al? Because I don't know how much you've ignored him.
Nope, I can't.
Okay. So there is this quote-unquote church, worship center?
He's right. Yeah.
And so he's called Messenger Cameron. That's his title. He's got glasses, he's got the polo shirt and the khakis. He's very clearly an homage to certain faith groups and he's a missionary. Not exactly a missionary, but that sort of role. He has. It seems like
an amalgamation of different different Christian-based religions, shall we say?
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. And it's nothing, even in game, it's not like a specific faith. It's not even like anything about a deity. They call it like there's a book of the mind, and it's like but it's
clearly based on.
But
it's just in terms of like what is based on in real life. It definitely feels like a kind of amalgamation of, and it's
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, clearly, right? So, so that's who he is, and he fits that role, and some people that might turn him off or whatever. But once I talked to Cameron, turns out he was originally from Hollywood and was an actor, and
Interesting.
was a hard partier and stuff like that.
Mm.
And like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. And so, yeah, that's just one example. But yeah, there's, backstories to people and nuances to learn about them. Especially some of the more involved characters, like involved with like your grandmother, for example, right? There's plenty to talk about her, or the people who are more familiar with magic. They have plenty of stories to tell and whatnot. But yeah, so there's lots of little areas to explore, and again, like everything else in this game, all at your own pace, whenever you want to, if you want to.
Don't sound so happy about it.
Yeah. Oh, well.
People can play their games slowly if they want, Kevin.
No! I needed to meet Wesley. I wish I could talk about some of these characters. Like, I wish I could talk about, man, I wish you were a little farther ahead. I want to talk about Marty, the guy who unlocks the animal ranching. He's a character. He, it just, he may have a false name. Question mark? I can't wait to learn about that.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like everybody has at least something vaguely interesting about them. And I'm intrigued to see where it all goes together and how it ties in, how different people react, because presumably different people are going to react different ways when the inevitable happens, right? Like they've not set this story up for all the witches not to come out, right? Like that's clearly what's going to happen. We know that's going to happen. I think the interesting thing is I think the interesting thing is how it happens, how people react to that, these sorts of things. I'm really interested to see. So I said it was the last thing, but I guess we didn't do the summary. I think it's probably pretty clear. But would you recommend this game?
Yes, I would heartily. Like, if you enjoy, look, this one's pretty clear. Do you enjoy Stardew Valley? You will enjoy Wylde Flowers. It's, I think, pretty 1-to-1. It's the same type of game. They do things differently, some better, maybe some not up to your preference. It's well done. Everything is what they want to do, I think, is well done. I don't, aside from the insane iPad thing, I don't think there's any egregious errors.
Do not subscribe to Apple Arcade for this game. If you already have it, that's fine. But if not, go buy it on Switch or Steam.
It runs fine on Switch, I will say that. So yes, I give this a heartily surprising 2 thumbs up for this game.
I would agree. I need to decide whether I'm going to continue playing on my iPad or whether I'm going to buy it on Switch.
Well, you're not that far in, so if you make that decision, make it now.
Yeah, I know.
Getting the cauldron is the perfect point to stop and do it again somewhere else.
Yeah. The thing is, I have 3 months on Apple Arcade, so I could get 3 months to play it on the iPad, which, I don't know. We'll see.
Be done with it.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. It's certainly, the controls isn't enough that I'm like, I hate it. I can't keep playing it, so I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Awesome. Well, Kevin, where can people find you on the internet?
At Cooper Prez on Tweeters, or at Sprider Squared, where I have art sometimes. I'm working on it. I'm working on it, just like Tara. Where can people find you on the internet, Al?
Find me on Twitter at TheScottBot. Or also I'm at TheScottBot on Mastodon.Scott as well.
Is Mastodon still going? Do people use it? Okay.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
I've not completely abandoned Twitter, but I'm probably about 50-50 Mastodon and Twitter. And Mastodon is where I go to see the nice things, and Twitter is generally where I go to deal with to see all the corporate tweets that I need to see to keep up to date with.
Look, I'm a Sonic fan. I'm on Twitter. I can survive trash fires.
You can find the podcast on Twitter at THSPod. You can find feedbacks and links, show notes, all that good stuff at our website, harvestseason.club. One of those links you can find is a link to our Patreon, where you can subscribe to get access to our Slack, which is full of lots of interesting people. And you can also subscribe and get access to our extra bonus episodes of the podcast, which I should really actually put one out.
All
I
the
have a bunch that are. I've got a bunch that just aren't fully finished, so hopefully I will get one out very soon.
Yeah, including some Al might not know about.
Oh, I hope so. That'd be nice.
What? I mean, well, yes. Look, I haven't even talked to Al about this. This is live on news to him. I am trying to work on an episode, a very special greenhouse episode.
Intrigued.
But it'll happen when it happens. So hopefully soon.
Until next time, have a good harvest.
Have a good harvest. I missed that one completely.
The Harvest Season is created by Al McKinley, with support from our patrons, including our pro farmers, Kevin and Stuart. Our art is done by Micah the Brave, and our music is done by Nick Burgess. Feel free to visit our website, harvestseason.club, for show notes and links to things we discussed in this episode.
Where can people find you, Scott? Yeah, Al, because you are the Scott bot.
Do you want to try that again?
No, that's a keeper. At the Al bot.